Revolutionary greetings to all and sundry, and particularly to the people of the once independent territory of British Southern Cameroons, also known today as Ambazonia. Today is the 23rd of April, 2020. My name is John Ba Akuro. The message I'm bringing across today is about the report that the government of La République du Cameroon has made public concerning the Ngarbuh Massacre. My dear people, I have taken time and gone through this report, like a good lot of us definitely have. And this is my reading of that report that I'm coming out today to share with each and every one of us. My dear people, I guess we all know by now that the kind of people, the kind of system that we are dealing with is a shameless system. It's a system that has taken lie-stealing, manipulation as their modus operandi for every other thing that happens in that country. And that is definitely not a country where anyone really feels like belonging to. When you read through this report from Gabu, a number of questions come to mind because that report raises only questions, many questions, than it provides answers. And at the end of the day, it is easy to establish exactly why this report has come out now. The first thing I need to say is that the government of La République du Cameroun has not published this report basically because they felt that it was the right thing to do. No. This report has been published because of extreme pressure coming from all over the world that an impartial international commission of inquiry be sent to the Southern Cameroons to carry out an independent and transparent investigation into what happened there. And it is because La République du Cameroun wants to overcome this challenge. It is because La République du Cameroun doesn't want this to happen because they know exactly what this commission is likely to discover. That is why they hurriedly came out indicting even people that are suspect do not exist. When you find the government of La République du Cameroun come out with a report like this, it is because they are seeking to protect people. It is because they are seeking to protect evil. It is because they are seeking to cover up. There is no mention made in this report about the responsibility that should be attributed to Mr. Adolphe Lele Lafrique de Benchofo, who is the colonial governor in Bamenda. All of these things are happening under his command. There is no mention of the so-called general leading the operational command in Bamenda or the colonels that are all there leading all of these massacres and who have vowed that they are going to raise every single Southern Cameroonian to dust. There is no mention of those people in this report. There is even no mention of the Army Chief of Staff, whose responsibility it is to ensure that such evil exactions are not conducted on the civilian population. There is no mention of René Claude Meka in this report. The Minister of Defense, who came out there and threatened that he was going to sue barristers Akeremona, Agbobala, and Professor Maurice Kamto because they indicted the government once this thing happened. He even threatened to sue even the Catholic Church. That minister's name is not mentioned here to share the responsibility for what happened. And all of these things are happening under his command. My dear people, are you surprised that this report makes no mention of Atanga Ponji and René Emmanuel Sadi, ministers of territorial administration and of communication, for coming out there blatantly and claiming that people were about to destroy the image of their professional army and their country, and that were people hidden in darkness to destabilize their country. Their names are not mentioned here. Atanga Ponji himself said in a situation where there is burglary, robbery, those who participate in cover-up become accessory to the crime. That is what Atanga Ponji himself said in a press conference. That footage is launching all over social media. And by that itself, Atanganji clearly indicated his complicity, indicated his participation, himself and the Minister of Communication. Surprised that there is no mention of all those church and bail journalists at CRTV, at Cameroun Tribune, and most of those hired local newspapers that came out there parodying noise and claiming that those exactions were carried out by self-defense volunteers who came out and have been fighting hard to defend those same communities. Are you surprised? All of this is simply because La République du Cameroun wants to stage one of the biggest cover-ups in recent history. My dear people, the international community must not be fooled again this time. The need for an independent, transparent, and incisive investigation into the genocidal crimes perpetrated by the government of Mr. Paul Biya in the southern Cameroons is too important. It is even now more necessary than it would have been before. We can't continue in the third millennium to sit and watch someone kill humans for their sport. This is not possible. At least not in a never again generation. This should not happen in the first place. When you look at what is prescribed in that report as measures, first you get surprised. One, exhuming corpses again and burying them with dignity. Really? Thank God. Families of the victims have already warned government to stop that kind of stupid charade. Next, creation of a military base in Ngarbuh to better protect the population. Protect them from who? From the same soldiers that burnt and killed all of them, and the people have all escaped from Ngarbuh because after that killing, after that massacre, soldiers went to Ngarbuh several times on a rampage looking for all those who could be eyewitnesses to kill. Of course, we all know of what happened to Mfo Yakubu. That because he dared speak to Human Rights Watch, soldiers picked him up. And Eric Matthias Owonangini says it in a footage that the arrest of Yakubu by the soldiers of La République du Cameroun and the exploitation or the search of his phone showed that he was in constant communication with Human Rights Watch officials. And that according to him, that was evidence enough that it was a cook-up. And where is Mfo Yakubu? He was killed in cold blood by the same military that committed those exactions. Creation of a military base. Of course, that is the reason, first of all, that the massacres took place. Because the government of La République has been sensitized. They have the reports, they have the findings of international mining bodies that that area around Ngarbuh and a good lot of Donga Mantung is mineral rich. And they're busy struggling to negotiate contracts. And so they needed to create a military air base or a military base there in order to protect an area where they will bring in their accomplices to come and exploit resources. And to do that, they had to massacre everybody in that area and come and claim. Today, they announce the creation of a base that had been in gestation for a long time as being a palliative to a massacre on the people. This is more than an insult. What kind of compensation do they plan to give, or do they hope will ever calm the spirits of a family that lost 9 people to such a brutal and evil massacre? And now, when you look at the names mentioned here, take note, carry out clear investigations, and they tell you the soldiers have been arrested, but they will never show you the soldiers are arrested on TV or get them paraded on newspapers, on newspaper columns. They will never show them to you because a lot of the names that will come up here would definitely be very fictitious names. I've heard from some sources, although I'm still to carry out an independent investigation, that of all of these names, the only person that has been clearly identified as being a soldier is Babangida. And pretentiously, this government says they have not been able to identify the 10 members of the vigilante group that participated in wreaking this havoc in Ngarbuh. Really? What the government does not want to say is that they do not want to offer Ngala Gerard's name. Because Ngala Gerard is the person, along with Callistus Fulgentry, that recruited those so-called people that were members of vigilante groups. They know them. These are Fulani herdsmen. They have used this same Fulani herdsmen in Mencho to wreak havoc on the people. They are using them in Misaje. They are using them in Rom. They are using them all over the place. This government has armed Fulani herdsmen and turned them against the same people that they have been living with peacefully for decades without any problem. And they come in this report and pretend that they can't identify them simply because they know that they have to protect those who have been killing, destroying, and everything in the name of protecting Mr. Paul Biya's ambitions, Mr. Paul Biya's colonial ambitions in the southern Cameroons. I say this, when this government promises that they are going to hand down heavy sanctions on the culprits, oh, really? I say this and I laugh. What sanctions have descended on the people who were clearly identified? And after a hard struggle, that the government admitted that they killed women and babies in the far north of La République du Cameroun. What has ever happened to them? It has ended. Let me go through a list of the things that have happened. This government claimed that they arrested a soldier who was caught red-handed, having raped a lactating mother around Veterinary Junction in Bamenda. And they promised to sanction him. What has ever happened to that soldier? To date, has anybody heard about any sanctions? This same government claimed that they had arrested the soldiers who shot dead a young man right in the premises of the Bamenda Maria Soledad Hospital, in the presence of workers of the Médecins Sans Frontières, in total violation of the Geneva Conventions bearing on the management of armed conflicts. They claimed that they had arrested the soldiers and they were going to discipline them. What has ever happened until this day? This same government admitted that the rampaging soldiers who caused enormous pain visiting people with death in Mancon, destroying homes at random around the palace of the Fawn of Mancon. Until this day, that same government that even called those things collateral damages and claimed they were going to severely punish the soldiers. What has become of them? What has this same government said about the air raids that took place in Bangem, and women and children and vulnerable people were killed indiscriminately? Over 40 of them. What has happened until this day? Have we talked about the Babanki massacre, where women, even some pregnant, were burnt alive in their homes? Have we talked about the Bamendankwe massacres, where women and other vulnerable people, handicapped persons, paid the price heavily? What has ever happened? My dear people, these examples abound in very huge numbers. And today, we can all see for ourselves that those who continue to call themselves journalists in huge numbers in La République du Cameroun, at least 98% of them have been reduced to toilet tissue. Absolute toilet tissue. Yesterday, the same journalists shouted loud and clear, the truth has been established, the enemies of the Republic are struggling to run down the Republic. And again, on the 21st of April. I listened to this same journalist at CRTV, read the same journalist at Cameroun Tribune. Like I listened to my brother Asho Nyenti. He came out there and congratulate the government for exposing the truth finally. Oh my goodness. Where have we kept shame? Where have professional ethics gone to? Thrown to the dogs? Hired newspapers announce trash here and there. And do not forget that when a young man raises issue to the French president, the Ngarbuh Massacre, to the French president Emmanuel Macron in France, that same government hired university students, gave them 1,500 each, bread and sardine, to go and demonstrate before the French embassy and claim that they were about to destroy the image of their country, that they were destroying the image of their professional army. Where are we today? Where are those same people who went demonstrating and calling people names rather than showing empathy that humans were being killed like flies? And we all listened to, should I still call him Professor? Eric Mathias Onangini, make very frivolous claims. A lot of them, professors, doctors, and all of those people, came out there in defense of the government in these blatant lies. But do you know what happened? They are aware that in that country where lying is the only mode of governance, is the only approach that you take when you need a reward, when you need promotion. And I'm not surprised that on the 22nd of April, that was yesterday, Eric Mathias Onangini was actually promoted to vice rector at the University of Yaoundé 1. What do you expect such a person to impact on students in class? What lessons is he going to be teaching them? This is exactly what the people of the once independent territory of British Southern Cameroons are running away from. We can't be unevenly yoked with a people where lying is a way of life. We can't be unevenly yoked with a people who have no regard for human life. We cannot be unevenly yoked with a people who eat, drink, and breathe corruption and embezzlement on a daily basis. No, that's not going to happen. And the world, when I read Ambassador Cohen, I understand him. Yet, what he has tweeted indicates clearly how the world is likely allowing itself to be deceived that the government of Mr. Paul Biya is about to start doing right. If there's ever been any need for an international commission of inquiry to carry out an in-depth, transparent, and incisive investigation into the genocidal crimes of the Biya regime in the southern Cameroons, that time is now. If there's been any time ever where that kind of commission is needed, that time is now. We have said this over and over and over again, but sometimes people have thought that it is a lie. My dear people, you will recognize that inasmuch as La République du Cameroun has published this finding and given the impression to the international community that they are doing right and that we have already seen some picking up on it, do not forget that 98% of those perpetrating the crimes of kidnapping, of rape, of looting, and of torture of the civilian populations in the southern Cameroons are government's private sponsored militia, whose intention is to achieve exactly what we have seen in the tweet by Ambassador Cohen, to give the impression to the international community that the people of the southern Cameroons are barbaric, to give the impression to the international community that we are not ripe to achieve freedom, to give the impression to the international community that we are bare-bone criminals. A lot of those militia, I say 98% of them, and this is proven. Mr. Frundi of the Social Democratic Front has said it over and over that a lot of this armed militia perpetrating those crimes of kidnapping, of rape, of looting, of torture in the various communities are militias put in place by people who are well known. Atanga Ponji, Minister of Territorial Administration, Callistus Gentry, who is at the Ministry of Industry, Fu Jonathan Mejini, Ngala Gerald. These are the people who have created a lot of that militia in the northern zone. And over in the southern zone, you have Fotabe Tando, Daniel Bianyo Clarkson, and a good lot of other people out there who recruited. And I reported this before, after a meeting was held at the Elever residence of Minister Daniel Bianyo Clarkson to plan on how to recruit private militia and let them pass for self-defense volunteers so that they will turn not only the public against their own freedom quest, but will give an ugly face of our liberation movement to the international community. Those criminals are there. This is why the government of La République du Cameroun does not want to allow any independent international commission of inquiry into the southern Cameroons, because they are aware that they will discover all of this. They are aware that they will uncover all of these facts. They are aware that when they get there, they will be able to establish that Florence Ayafo was killed by this particular kind of militia. Of course, the Mbororo Fulanis are very up and out there. They are being instrumentalized in Menchum, in Bui, and in Dongamantu. And I understand too, in parts of Momo, specifically in Gi, Oshe, Konda, and those areas. These are the things La République du Cameroun seeks to hide. You may hear some people battling for prominence within our movement, coming out there to claim that some of these serious crimes were committed by one group or the other, and theirs is the perfect group. No. This is simply the kind of policies being pushed by La République du Cameroun to cause us to give the impression to the rest of the world that they are not responsible for those crimes, but they are. Those of us of the civil society movement who have definitely never favored the picking up of arms have our people going in the various communities by day and by night and uncovering all of these things. We are documenting all of this information, and we are making sure by day and by night that we submit this information where it needs to be submitted. The world needs to know this, that these criminals are responsible for these atrocious acts in the southern Cameroons. The government of La République du Cameroun will never come clean. And again, this so-called admittance of guilt, like I said, is simply a charade. It's a ruse, a complete ruse meant to send the world to sleep so they can continue to cause the confusion that they are causing. I even hear and read that La République du Cameroun has cancelled May 20 celebrations right from the 22nd of April, when even countries most affected by COVID-19 are opening up. La République du Cameroun has never shut down markets where people are still so crowded, rubbing bodies against each other. They have not shut down supermarkets. They have not even eased the situation in the prisons. Look at the Yaoundé Konongi prison, where reports indicate that more than 20 confirmed cases of COVID-19 have emerged from there, with some already dying even right in that jail. They have taken no measures to decongest. And they tell you they cancel May 20 celebrations because of that? Absolutely no. It is because they have no Paul Biya to present to the people on May 20. It's because they know that on that occasion, they will not be able to fabricate like what they fabricated at the Unity Palace with a so-called visit of the French ambassador to Mr. Paul Biya. Because they know they will not be able to fabricate any Paul Biya to show to the public. That is why they go ahead to cancel May 20 celebrations. That is a country that lives on lies, that lives on manipulation, that lives on constant reuse. There is never any measure that is taken in that country intended to benefit anybody, any human being, only to benefit their selfish egos. My dear people of the Southern Cameroon, we have to stay awake Stay alert. We have to continue to call on the international community to make sure that that important International Commission of Inquiry is dispatched to the Southern Cameroons to carry out these findings. There are a lot of people with a lot of information to provide when the time comes. This is a moment of shame. In a normal country, Atanga Paul Nji and René Emmanuel Sadi should not even be dismissed from government. They should resign by themselves. In a normal country, Eric Mathias Onangini will not be getting promoted to vice rector in a university where he has to go shaping minds because he has proven that he is a massive disgrace, a disgrace of scholarship. Yet, that is Cameroon. You lie your way to progress. That is Cameroon. You lie your way to promotion. That is Cameroon. You manipulate your way to wealth. That is Paul Biya's Cameroon. And that is a country that the Southern Cameroons shall never, ever belong to or have anything to do with, ever anymore. To God be the glory.